Hello, my name's Bob McKenzie, and this is my brother Doug, eh? How's it going, eh? Do you remember that? Bob and Doug McKenzie. Good stuff. They were part of the SCTV network here up in Canada, and they became very famous, and I think most people know about them now. Today our topic, eh? Okay, our topic is like beer, eh? Hoser, go talk about beer. Well, like beer, eh? It's like, was like invented like 1,000 years ago. You know, it was not Hosehead. It was like 10,000 years ago. Remember, they used to argue about stuff, and it was just, it was really funny. But anyways, how you guys doing? Happy Homebrew Wednesday on a Thursday once again this week. Actually, I was going to have this video out on time this week, but I had to put out some other videos to get them because I was behind in some production I had to do on the SJ Pour stuff. So I finally got the rest of those out, and I couldn't do any more last night. So here we are again a day late, but you know, it's better late than never, right? So cheers. The beer that I made last week in Fast Forward time lapse. I'm glad you enjoyed that. It was kind of fun to do and kind of fun to watch. It's funny for me to watch myself do that in fast motion. I have certain little patterns that I don't know what I do. But anyways, it was cool, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. That beer is now in a glass. I know it's a little early. It was done fermenting. I don't know if you can see the fermenter over there. Still hasn't cleaned out. I have to clean that out after this. But it was done. It was, the gravity was done. It was, you know, airlock was, you know, done. So I thought, well, all right, fine. I'll keg it up. I kegged it a few hours ago. Put it in the freezer. Got it cold. Force carbed it, so it's not going to have the best carbonation or the best head retention or whatever. In fact, I'm looking at it right now, and it did have some head when I poured it, but it died down. And of course, the first couple of pours are very muddy looking, so it's not very clear. But there it is. It's beer. It really does work. You can make beer that easily, and here it is. But this will improve over the next 3 or 4 days. It will get clearer, and it will develop more carbonation, and the carbonation will acclimate into the beer more, and the bubbles will get smaller, and it will retain better head. So that's what happens. But this is kind of a rush job. Pardon the pun, because I love rush. Rush! Yeah! Let's give it a whirl. I haven't tasted it yet, so let's try it, see what we've got. Yep. Cooper's English Bitter, same every time. It tastes exactly the same as it always does. It's a little undercarbonated, just slightly, but it's actually quite good. So I'm looking forward to tapping on that for the next week and a half or so, however long it takes me to finish off the keg, because sometimes it goes quicker than others. Depends on if I broadcast on Friday night, which I should be this week. That tends to put a strain on my beer supply, unfortunately. Those broadcasts, man, I'm telling you, oh my God. Yeah, so, but anyway, so, okay, I'm starting a new segment on the show, well, on the Homebrew Wednesday, whatever you want to call it, a show, I don't know. It's called Tip of the Week. Very simple, okay? I'm going to try to come up with one every week, and I'll give you guys an opportunity to contribute to that and put your tips of the week in so that we can use them on the show, because I don't think I'm going to be able to think of one every single week. So I will provide that for you later in this video. First off, though, I want to talk about something that I sort of touched on last week. After I did the, you know, the time-lapse brew or whatever. And by the way, thanks for the spelling correction on time-lapse. I put LAPS. I wasn't even thinking about the proper spelling of time-lapse. But so I don't worry. Don't be afraid to correct me on that, because it's you know, when you know what when your zipper's down, you want someone to tell you so you can get it up there, fix it as quickly as possible, right? But I did talk a little bit about the reason that people brew, and I'm thinking that some people may have got the wrong idea about what I was saying. So let me just, you know, touch on that just briefly. What I said was, if you're paying high prices for beer where you live, then you might want to consider making your own beer. That's a good reason to make your own beer. And it's a great reason to try to figure out a simple way to do it, because you'll probably be making a lot of beer because you'll never want to buy it again, right? And you have friends over and company, and you drink your own beer, and you've got to keep the pipeline going, right? You've got to keep beer in the house, and so you've got to be making it fairly frequently. And for that reason, you don't want to be necessarily choosing a method that's going to take you a long time. Unless you're a single person who has all the time in the world, then by all means. But still, I think it would get monotonous. And I said that, you know, I have nothing against all grain brewing. It's a nice treat once in a while to do that. But if you're making beer exclusively for, you know, to save money, then that might not be an option for you every single time you brew beer. Okay, you might have to go to kits or go to extract brewing or whatever. So I don't know. I think a couple people in the comment section or whatever, which I do read. I read it for about 7 days, and I come back to it a couple weeks later and see, you know, what's going on. Thought that I was saying that the only reason to brew beer was to save money. Absolutely not what I was trying to get across. At all. You know, everyone's got their own reason for doing it, and if your reason for doing it is to save money, then it's a good idea, depending on how much beer you drink, to learn how to make the simple kits taste good, because they don't take a lot of time. You're going to be brewing a lot more often than guys that can just go out and buy it for cheap. Now, I did throw some numbers out there, and I haven't watched the video since I posted it, so I don't know exactly what I said. But a couple people were saying something about, you know, where can I find 6-pack for $6? And so I don't know if I said that or, you know, what my exact words were. That was an exaggeration, of course. I didn't mean, you know, I don't live in the U.S. I don't really know what the beer prices are. So, you know, but I know that they're a lot less than they are here. Okay. Somebody posted in the comment section that they didn't think that the beer prices were cheap in the U.S. because he pays $17 for 30 beers. Well, anyone who's watching this who lives in Canada just fell off their chair. Because for 30 beers, I'm going to be paying about $37, not $17. Okay, it's... maybe that was a typing mistake. I don't know. I don't know whether he meant $17 for 30 beers or maybe it was a typo. I'm not sure. The point of the matter, and then some other people were talking about for a 6-pack of beer, $10. But that's craft beer, like good craft beer. Well, six craft beers here are probably going to cost about upwards to $20. 18, 17, 18 to $20 for 6 craft, like good quality micro beers. But you know, we can sit here and argue about prices all day long. I think it's different from state to state, from what I've gathered. So some states have cheap beer, some states don't. I mean, and I don't know if I think it's the same with provinces in Canada. Like we don't have states, we have provinces. You know, in Ontario, our beer is pretty cheap compared to other provinces in the country. For instance, in Nova Scotia, I hear that they have their beer is quite a bit more expensive than ours. So they have a different, you know, thing going on there. So it varies. And then I'm talking to people in Australia, New Zealand, England, Scotland, other places where they're saying that beer is... One guy, I don't know where he lived, I forget. He said it was like $90 or something for a 24 case of beer, $80 or something. Something absolutely outrageous. So, you know, in those cases, pardon the pun, cases, like cases of beer, okay. In those cases, you really don't want to be making, you don't want to be buying beer, you want to be making your own. And this beer, even though it's young and it needs to age, you know, a little bit, I mean, it needs to age a lot, but it won't age in this house because I don't have anything else to drink. So, few days in the keg and it's going down. But it's better than most of the commercial beers that you buy. By commercial, I mean the Coors Light and the big beer companies that, you know, mass produce beer. Not necessarily saying it's better than the craft beer that's out there, although if you do some stuff to it, like add some hops or put some grains in it or do things to it, it can be as good as those. It's really hard to pin it down, but the bottom line is that I wasn't trying to nail down prices or tell you how much people in the US pay for their beer. All I'm saying is it's more expensive where I live than it is in the US. And I think a large percentage of the homebrew community is based in the US. And they do all grain mostly. Not all, but a lot of them do, most of them do, because it's a hobby, right? And this is what I said. It's a hobby that they don't have to brew beer because they can afford to buy the beer that they have available to them at the local, you know, gas station down the street or Walmart or wherever the hell you buy your beer. We don't have that availability. So making beer comes to mind from a money-saving standpoint first, and then me become a hobby afterwards. Okay, I think that's what we were saying. The other interesting thing is that I need a breather. That's good beer. There's crystal malt in that. I can tell. I didn't put it in. Cooper's English Bitter has it. I think. I don't know. I'm just saying. The other interesting thing is that in Canada, you can't buy beer in just anywhere. In Walmart or, you know, a grocery store. Or I've heard you guys sometimes down in the U.S. there, you can even go into a gas station. You know, you go in, they sell chocolate bars and coffee and, you know, milk and whatever, and you can buy beer. Are you serious? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's unheard of. I can't, really? You, like, a 24-hour gas station? I mean, really. You know, 1 o'clock in the morning, you're like, oh, I feel like a beer. Go down to, you know, the 24-hour, you know, thing and just buy yourself a 6-pack? Are you serious? I mean, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. We do not have that luxury. We have something called the beer store. That's where you buy your beer, right? It's like you don't buy your gasoline from Walmart. Okay, you gotta go to a gas station. Here, you don't buy your beer from Walmart. You gotta go to a beer store or a liquor store. Liquor store, beer store, they're both controlled by the same government thing. Here it's the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. Liquor Control Board of Ontario, you know, key words there, okay? And they control the prices. And the absolute cheapest, legally, the cheapest beer that can be sold in my province is 24 bottles of beer, 341 milliliters, like, you know, 12-ounce bottles of beer, 24 12-ounce bottles of beer for $29.95. I think, or is it $31.95? And anyway, about 30 bucks for 24 of the cheapest beer we have. Okay? The cheapest beer. And there's a few of these. They're called discount beers. That's what they're called. And it's basically, you know, it's 50% malt and 50% cornmeal or corn syrup or whatever they use for the, you know, fermentabilities to make it 5.5% alcohol. It's not an all-grain beer by any means. It's not a craft beer. And I drink it because if I'm out of homebrew, it's really all I can afford, sadly. I kept this can for that reason, just to show you that. There's actually a 6% version of that out there as well. James Ready Ice, it's called, and it's 6% alcohol. And of course it's a little more expensive, you know. Anyway, it's a little tougher here than it is in other parts, and that's why I make beer. But you might not make beer for that reason. You might make it because you enjoy the hobby, the process. You enjoy sharing it with friends. You know, and it's, you know, yeah. And I understand that because I do that as well, periodically, not all the time, because I just don't have time to brew enough beer to keep my fridge full if I'm doing all grain beer every single time I make beer. And I think that really pretty much like nails that down to the floor. I don't think I can say it any better than that. And I've talked about this before, and I think I'm repeating myself. So, you know, that's it. And you know, you guys can, I've seen lots of comments in the comment sections about their price of beer in different parts of the world, and it gets ridiculous in some places. It's just, I'm so happy that we can brew our own beer. I don't care how you brew it, what you make it with, if it's Cooper's, if it's Muntins, if it's, you know, grains or whatever. I don't care. We shouldn't even care. We're all home brewers, and somebody made a comment, which was a stupid comment as far as I'm concerned, down last week, that the way I did that time-lapse thing, that's not brewing. Well, guess what? The definition of brewing, one of the definitions of brewing is to concoct, to mix things together. Not necessarily boiling it. You don't have to boil, you don't have to steep. It's just brewing up something. Or a storm is brewing. Okay, things are happening up there that are mixing and making a storm brew. So it doesn't have to be, you know, boiling, steeping, mashing, whatever. It's just the making of something from stuff, brewing. That's one of the definitions out there. And so that comment is nullified. Boom! So, okay. Let's see. Let's do our tip of the week before we go, because I think I'm running out of time probably. So let me get a little thing here first. This is my first tip of the week, so it's not going to be anything special. In future, if this works, I'll do like a little, I don't know, video thingy or something, or a bumper or whatever. I'll film it in another location. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this week's tip of the week is for siphoning or racking your beer. Okay? When you rack your beer from the primary to a secondary, or when you're racking it to a keg, doesn't matter which one. I'm not a big fan of racking your beer to a secondary. I don't think it's necessary, but you know, that's just me. It's, you do what you want and what makes you feel comfortable, what you think is best. But so when you're racking your beer, the thing that you have to keep in mind, the most important thing, is you don't want to introduce oxygen into your. Some of you are going to already know this, but you know, just for the beginners or the new people out there, you don't want to introduce oxygen into your beer. So when you're siphoning, first of all, if you're using like an auto siphon, like, you know, what I have with, you pump it, you know, a couple times and you start, am I on actually, okay, sorry. I think I'm off on one side here a little bit. I'll just move over here. There we go. Sorry about that. I did the whole video on one side. Is that, oh my God. Okay, that's not good. If you, anyway, if you are siphoning your beer, first thing you have to realize is you don't want any air in your hose. Okay, so when you pull that siphoning thing a couple of times, look down the hose and make sure there's no little air pocket in there where the beer is like sloshing around as it's going down. Okay, if you have that, do another pump. Right, get it smooth. You don't want to hear anything. You don't want to see anything. All right. The second thing is that where it's going down into the bottom of your thing, wherever it is you're siphoning it into, like your keg or your carboy or, you know, whatever, you shouldn't hear anything. You don't want to hear it sloshing around. You don't want to hear it going up against the side of the keg or the wall of the carboy. If you hear something, you're introducing oxygen into your beer. You know, people are asking me all the time, how come my beer has this flavor or that flavor? Well, you know, I'm wondering if sometimes that is what's happening, is that they're not paying attention to when they're siphoning it into things. So when you're siphoning your beer into whatever, you should not hear a thing. Totally silent. And if you hear something, check and see what's going on, move things and fix it. and you'll save yourself a lot of headaches in the future. Okay, that's this week's tip of the week, and I'll be doing more of those. If you want to contribute to the tip of the week, I welcome your tips, and if I think they're useful, I will use them on the Homebrew Wednesday video. You can send me an email at craigtubemail@gmail.com and put in the subject line tip of the week. Okay, if you don't put tip of the week in the subject line, I won't see it, because I'm not allowing personal emails in there. You know, if you send me a personal email in there, probably won't see it. I'm looking for specific things, and that's the thing I'm looking for this week, is the subject line tip of the week. Put your tip in there, and if I get lots of them, well, that gives me lots in weeks to come to use in the Homebrew Wednesday videos. So I welcome that, and that's a good thing for us to share. All right, I think I'm done. This was a compact, to the point Homebrew Wednesday video, and I thank you for watching. It's looking a little sad, but it'll improve. I'm faithful. It's going to get better. And I apologize for being off to one side for most of the video. What were you looking at? My glasses. And some of them still have stuff in the bottom. Oh no. Oh dear. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. 17brewcrew.com. Great forum. Sign up. Name, password, nothing else. You won't get any emails that you don't request. You're not going to send you junk mail. We're not going to send you any junk mail and things like that. If you want to get a hold of me and ask me a question, that's where you do it. Okay? Thanks for watching. Cheers. And 17.